There's never been a better time to get outside and experience the benefits of nature. Discover nearby trails and explore the outdoors with All Trails. Download the free app today and find your outside.
Ready to experience something new? All Trails helps you find your next hike. Whether you're looking for something nearby or planning a trip, read reviews from real people like you to choose your trail and know what to expect. You can also download the map in case service gets spotty. Plan and experience your next hike with All Trails, the app for exploring the outdoors. Download it today and find your outside.
Welcome to the latest edition of the Exit Advisory Team's webinar. Today, we are going to dive deep into the concept of Rembrandts in the attic and why that is a really interesting thought process for how you go about maximizing the value of your organization. So I'm going to be joined by Deborah Martin, who is one of our team at the Exit Advisory Team from Geldarts.
Hello, Neil. So what's a Rembrandt in the attic in an exit context?
So, very good question. The whole notion of Rembrandts, and I'm going to take you sort of through a story now. And let's imagine that you, myself, and Adam are going to go and buy a house. And that house is on the market in Nottingham for £1 million. Now, I've gone and visited the house, you visited the house, and so has Adam. And actually, for me, I quite like it. It's got a lovely kitchen and it's going to be great for the cooking I like doing and stuff like that. But it doesn't really wow me to that extent. So I'm going to offer 950,000. You've gone along, you love your gardening and you've got a beautiful garden and everything else is about right for you. And you're going to say, you're going to offer the asking price of £1 million. Adam has also seen that it's got a lovely garden and it's great kitchen. He's really, really keen on it. So he's actually going to go and offer just over the odds, maybe 1.05 million. So we've all seen the house. Then I'm going to do a bit more of a deeper dive into this house and I kind of get right around it and rumble around and I actually go up in the attic. And up in the attic, just behind a wall, I discover a Rembrandt. Probably, and I know a bit about my art, so I know that Rembrandt's going to be worth at least 5 million. So here's the thing. The other two potential purchasers don't know it's up there, and the seller doesn't know that that Rembrandt is up there either. So how much do you think I am going to offer for this particular house?
Slightly more.
Slightly more, because I know that in the house there is this Rembrandt, which is 5 million. So I'm then potentially going to be able to bid up to 5 million because I know that Rembrandt's up there and I can then take it to an auction house and get the 5 million and still get some money back from that. So as the pricing goes up a bit, probably you're going to drop out, Adam's going to drop out, and I'm going to maybe secure the house for 1.5 million. The seller's ecstatic. I'm very happy, and I've got that. So the point is that when you go and look at a business, it's just the same that there are many hidden Rembrandts in a business that most people don't understand around that, and that's why more often than not we just have the pricing dynamics of a business, which is pretty much you take EBITDA and then you have a multiple of the evaluation of the EBITDA. And that's it's a lazy way really of valuing a business, but that's the way it's done. So you might be, if you're running a manufacturing organization, then you get 6 times EBITDA. If you've got a tech company, it might be 10 times, whatever it is. And that's just the way that it's valued. But this is more important, more so for strategic buyers, because the strategic buyers are obviously looking to where they can, sort of gain some sort of value around it. So that in essence is the whole concept of the Rembrandts in the attic.
So give me some sort of examples then of, in the context of a sale of a business then.
I'm going to take John Ratliff, who I work with from Apple Tree Answers, and look at some of his Rembrandts that when we're working with him. So the first up They got a very, very, very good system for buying and acquiring business, or they had a buy and build strategy that they really, really fine-tuned. And that process was something that as other strategic buyers were really, really keen to be able to get hold of so they could actually acquire businesses and integrate it back into there. So that might be one example. The depth of the executive team, the talent depth there, again, might be something that if you've got either a really high quality exec team or you've got lots of consultants. I worked with a consulting organization in Derby that were in the railway consultancy space, and they actually had some of the very best consultants in their space, in their particular vertical, that others really, really wanted to have, and they were prepared to offer over on the odds, above the odds for that. It could be that you've got some really strong processes again that are recognized around that. You may have again Apple, going back to Apple Tree, they had unbelievable low turnover of staff for a contact center. Typically, a contact center had 100% churn of staff every year. They had an 18% churn of staff. They had a really good way of holding on to people. And others were really, really keen to get a hold of that. And I understand how that works. So that could be another example. But your customer list, if you've got some amazing clients or client base that someone else wants to get hold of, that could be another example, Deborah, of a Rembrandt. Or if you're trying to get into a new market, like you're an American-based company, but you want to get a foothold in the UK, and you've got all of those contacts already, that could be priceless for someone. So they may be prepared to go way over and above the amount of price that others might be prepared to give.
Okay, so what's sort of your repeatable method then to discover Rembrandts with a founder? How do you go about that?
Yeah, so first up, when you start to get to know a bit more about their organizations, if they haven't really got an idea of where they may be, you then start to ask those questions like we've just done in terms of tell me a bit more about the quality of your team. Tell me a bit more about your database. Tell me a bit more about the process that you have around these. So we call those value drivers, Deborah. What are the sort of value drivers that you've already got in place? Now, if they haven't got that, then they haven't got the value drivers or really anything that is potential or a Rembrandt or of specific value, the earlier they can start painting a Rembrandt, the earlier they can start to really create these areas that people would give a significant amount of value for, the better.
Mhm.
So that's probably as a coach where I'll come in and say, well, actually, if we can actually build some value drivers, and the first up may well be the simple, straightforward thing of demonstrating that you've got a really strong process of growing the business. So you've over the year, you can paint a nice picture, excuse the pun, of how you've grown your revenues and your gross profit ahead of the industry. And you've got a nice picture to show that, and not just looking forward, but actually continuing that trend. Someone's going to buy into forward earnings. That can be a really good place to start. Starting to get that, the great management team that we just spoke about could be another place to start building that database out of great companies that you're working with. So that's kind of the repeatable process that you can then start to work on in order to put that extra value in your company. The other point I would make is the power of multiple buyers. So if going back to the house example that I mentioned earlier on, if you've only got one potential buyer, you haven't got much leverage. If and that buyer then, knowing that, is probably going to be able to chip away at the price and knock you down. If you've got three people who each one of them really wants to have that house, you know what? They're probably going to offer over and above the market price that you've got there. So you really, really want to make sure that you're attracting more than just the one buyer. And that's the next thing about getting over and above the valuation.
So basically, you're saying, build your Rembrandts really, work out what they
Yeah,
could be, and by
yeah.
building that, you will, potentially attract more people wanting to buy your business.
Definitely. And the sooner you can get to work on that, the better. Again, if you're only thinking about, I want to sell the business in a year's time and you really haven't got this in place, it's going to be a lot more difficult than if you've got a really clear plan of action 4 or 5 years out that I really want to get this business right for sale now and I want to maximize the value. Where do I go and start painting or building those Rembrandts out? would be great advice.
And when multiple offers come in, how do you compare them beyond price, I guess?
Yeah, so we've just talked about the power of multiple offers or POMO. Then the next thing you probably want to think about, and this is quite sort of subjective, I guess, and you've probably seen it as well, is the acquirer, are they going to be a good fit for my culture? So if I'm really interested in continuing the culture of the things I've built up, I want to make sure that a potential acquirer is going to be good for that. Really want to work alongside me as the seller and stuff like that, or are they going to play hardball with me and want me to stay on and have many years in the business and all put lots of terms and conditions? That might not be quite so attractive to you. Will they want to let all the executive team go? And that thinking, that's part of them. Or actually, they're buying the business for the executive team. They want to keep that. So yeah, you've got to make sure that above and beyond, you want to get the value for the company. Those other questions that might be important to you, the personal things, are factored in as well.
Yeah, certainly we see different pricing structures, and we always kind of say cash is king, clearly. That's
Yes,
the cleanest exit.
yes, yes.
But you'll have different offers where there's the earn out where you've got to stay in to get, the full value, and you've got to
Yeah.
deliver certain targets in terms of business. And also rolling over, quite a few buyers these days expect you to roll. So you might be exiting for, I don't know, 10 million, but be expected to roll 2 million
Yeah.
forward into
Yeah.
and stay around because they want you to have a vested interest in seeing that business succeed. So yeah,
Yeah, definitely. And I've been speaking to a few people who've exited the business over the last few years, and they are taking their experience of the first sale they've done is then really come back and said, next time I'm going to be very much more prescriptive to how I'm going to negotiate the terms of my exit and around that. And I think, again, the power of multiple offers means that you can be a lot more focused on doing what is right for you. As opposed to if you've just got one buyer in town, they're going to be quite able to have that leverage over you. So I think that's an important consideration.
and if you like, one aspect of a deal over above another one, but actually you prefer that buyer, you play one off against the other, and it shows you how keen they are to buy it if they'll bend a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's the other watch out that most people will talk to you about is that, and this is probably very much a playbook of a private equity company, is that they will want to woo you right from the outset. And the last thing they want is any other buyer or potential buyer anywhere near the conversation. They will try and get that exclusivity right from the very outset. They might have approached you with a very flattering letter and how they're going to be a great fit. But this is where there's kind of warning lights come on that you should be then being very, very focused around this is the terms that we're going to do that. We're not going to be mucked around. We're going to be very structured in the way we do the due diligence. You open book, you'll have all of that, but you will not going to be mucked around here. And that's often why it probably makes sense to have other people working alongside you, other advisors, so that I suppose the analogy is that if you're in dock, some sort of crime, you're unlikely to be successfully representing yourself. You want to have a good lawyer in there. It's the same about if you want, when you're selling a business, if you try and just represent yourself, it's not going to be as effective as if you're bringing in experts who are going to represent and know how to fight your corner. So I think that's the other kind of advice we'd be saying here, I think, is making sure that you've got the right team of people around you, and hence why we set up the exit advisory team, so that you have got it kind of equals the playing field out a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, thanks, Neil. Thanks for explaining the Rembrandt theory. And yeah, there'll be more to come.
There will, and I think just the final thing to say in the show notes at the bottom, there's a number of articles we've written on the Rembrandts as well. So you've got a number of blogs we've written. I'll give you advice, and of course, if you want to find out more information on how we can help you, then please reach out to us as well. We'd be delighted to, as I said, equal the playing field out a bit and make sure that you've got the best people in your court.